Greetings to all you English warriors out there. This is lesson number 45, and in this lesson we are going to talk about 3 new clauses in the English language that are called number 1, the clause of result, number 2, the clause of concession, and number 3, the clause of purpose. Okay, so first, can you please tell me, what is a clause? Do you know? What is a clause? Well, a clause is the basic building block of a sentence which has to contain a subject and a verb. Okay, so a clause must contain 2 things, a subject and a verb. Don't forget. Now, a clause can function as a simple sentence, or it may be joined to other clauses so as to form more complex sentences. Okay, and in this lesson, you're going to learn how to form your own complex sentences. Okay. Now, let's go ahead and dive right in. We're going to look at the clause of result first. We use the clause of result to express the result of an action or a conclusion. So we have a formula right here, and let's take a look at the formula and make a sentence. This first formula for the clause of result is using the word so plus an adjective or an adverb, okay, plus the word that. Okay, again, so plus the adjective or adverb plus that. For example, I was so excited that I called my family immediately. I was so excited. Excited is when you are so happy about something. You feel good about something. You cannot wait. You're woohoo, you are excited. Okay, so I was so excited that I called my family immediately. Immediately means right now. And I see that we have a mistake right here for immediately. We actually, when we spell immediately, we need an E right here. Okay, M-I-M-M-E-D-I-A-T-E-L-Y. Okay, sorry guys. Immediately. Let me see if I can fix that with a blue pen. Immediately. Okay? Right. I was so excited that I called my family immediately. Okay? Right now. Now, notice that we have the word here, that. Okay? That's because we use it here, but oftentimes you don't have to use that. So you could say, I was so excited I called my family immediately when you're talking to people in a more informal setting, okay? Because oftentimes English speakers, we take away that, okay, in our sentence. I was so excited that I called my family immediately, okay? Now, we also have a second form, and for that form we use the word such plus a or an plus an adjective plus a noun, plus that, okay? So you can see here that sometimes the adjective is also like that. It's optional. You can use it if you want to. All right, so let's take a look at the example. It was such a windy day that they decided to fly kites. Okay, it was such a windy day that they decided to fly kites. And windy day, that's, you know, oftentimes when in the atmosphere there is low pressure or there is high pressure, it oftentimes causes wind. You also get wind when it's raining or when there's a storm or when it's snowing. Wind is just the air that blows. It goes fast, like whoosh, okay? So that we call wind. And when we want to talk about a day and describe the day, which is in this case the noun, we say windy day. Okay? It was such a windy day that they decided to fly kites. Kites are those things up in the air, and kites, you know, kites look like, you know, you have a little string attached and it looks kind of like this, and they fly up in the air. Okay? That's a kite, to fly kites. All right. Decide means to make a choice. They decided to fly kites. They made the choice to fly kites. All right. So also, you don't have to say that. You can say, it was such a windy day, they decided to fly kites. Remember that in English, we often omit the word that. Okay, meaning we omit it, we take it away, we don't use it. okay, while we say our clause. Like, it was such a windy day that they decided to fly kites. It was such a windy day, they decided to fly kites. I was so excited that I called my family immediately. I was so excited I called my family immediately. Okay? All right, so that's clause of result, guys. Now that we've learned our first clause, let's move on to the second clause, the clause of concession. Okay, the clause of concession. Now we use the clause of concession to express contrast or opposition to the main clause of a sentence. Let's look at a few examples. So first, we're going to have to use the formula here in red, and we use although or even though. You decide, okay, you choose which one you want, plus the subject plus a verb. Okay, so although or even though plus subject plus verb. For example, although she knew the answer to the teacher's question, she was too shy to raise her hands, or to raise her hand. Shy means like you're timid, okay? You don't have enough courage to raise your hand, okay? That's to raise your hand. Teacher, teacher, call on me? Nah, if you're shy, you don't really do that. You're more scared. You don't want to look people directly in the eye. You're shy, okay? So let's read this one again. Although she knew the answer to the teacher's question, she was too shy to raise her hand, okay? Or you could say, even though she knew the answer to the teacher's question, she was too shy to raise her hand, okay? You can also say it backwards, okay? By placing these words here in the middle of the sentence. For example, she was too shy to raise her hand even though she knew the answer to the teacher's question. So in this case, we have even though in the middle. Okay, even though goes in the middle. In this case right here, even though and although go in the beginning. Okay, so beginning, middle. All right, so she was too shy to raise her hand even though she knew the answer to the teacher's question. All right, so pretty easy, guys, to remember. Make sure that you place the comma before the words although and even though. So right here we have a comma. Okay, you need to put the comma in the middle. Okay, if you're going to have a sentence and you're going to use although or even though in the middle of the sentence, before you use even though or although, you have to put the comma before comma and then although, even though. Okay, so whenever you put them in the middle of a sentence. Also, it seems to me that in America, we typically use the word even though, okay, when it's placed in the middle of a sentence, okay? We don't really use although, okay, in the middle of a sentence in informal conversations. But we do use although and even though in the beginning of a sentence. But in informal conversations, I normally hear people say even though more when it's in the middle. You can say it too. She was too shy to raise her hand, although she knew the answer to the teacher's question. But I think more often I hear she was too shy to raise her hand, even though she knew the answer to the teacher's question. I think that sounds better, okay? All right, so next we have number 2. We have also, these are clauses of concession, okay? In spite of, or you could say despite, plus a noun in the ing form, okay? In spite of or despite, plus a noun in the ing form. Despite the cold weather, we went swimming. Okay, so despite the cold weather, we went swimming. Okay, even though there is cold weather, we go swimming anyways. It doesn't matter. We're going swimming. Okay, that's why we say despite or in spite of the cold weather. Number 3, in spite of the fact that, also we have that like we have it right here. You can admit it, okay? Or you could say despite the fact that, so you could choose which one you want to use. He denied his involvement despite the fact that he was caught on camera. Or you could say he denied his involvement in spite of the fact that he was caught on camera. Okay, and remember, we don't have to use that if we don't want to. Okay, you could say, he denied his involvement despite the fact he was caught on camera. He denied his involvement in spite of the fact he was caught on camera. Okay, so even though he was on camera, he still denied his involvement. Okay, even though he's on camera, he still denied his involvement, even though everybody knows it was him. So despite the fact, in spite of the fact. All right, so okay guys, now that we've learned the clause of result and the clause of concession, let's learn the clause of purpose. Okay, the clause of purpose we say in English. Now, the clause of purpose is used to show the purpose of an action. Okay, now when we use the clause of purpose, the first form is to use so as to. Okay, and if we have not right here, it's negative. So as not to, in its negative form. Or you could say in order to, but in its negative form you say in order not to. Okay, so for example, he drove fast so as to get to work on time. Okay, or you could say he drove, right, drove his car fast in order to get to work on time. Okay, or you could say he drove, then we'll say slow, okay, in order not to crash. Okay, or you could say he drove slow so as not to crash or have a collision. Okay, so that's our first form. Let's go ahead and look at the second one. So that plus, then we have three words here, can, may, and will. So that can, so that may, so that will. You should go see the doctor so that he can tell you what is wrong. Okay, so you should, remember we use should for advice, like you should go do that. You should think about doing that. Okay, I recommend you do this. You should go see the doctor so that he can tell you what is wrong. Okay, now if, for example, you don't want to use the word can, you don't have to use can. You can also say will, right? You could use will. You should go see the doctor so that, here we'll put it right here, he'll. Okay, remember, will, we could put it right here. So that he'll, and then we'll get rid of can, tell you what is wrong. Okay, you should go see the doctor so that he'll tell you what is wrong. Okay, now we have number 3 for a clause of purpose. So that plus could, might, or would. Okay, so in this one we're talking about a general fact, okay, or a general observation. Here we're talking about something that's happening like in the future, okay, in the future. And here we're talking about something that happened in the past, okay? So that could, might, and would. They signed up for karate classes so that they could learn how to defend themselves. Okay, we're using could here. Or you could say they signed up for karate classes so they, you could say would, okay, so that they would, whoops. I don't have a lot of ink in my pen, guys. So that they would learn how to defend themselves. Okay, so you could say could or would. Also, you could use might. Okay, you could say might as well. They signed up for karate classes so they might. Okay, might. There we go. Now I have lots of blue ink. So they might learn how to defend themselves. Remember, when we use might, it's more like you're not sure. We're talking about a possibility, uncertainty, maybe a little doubt. Okay, they might. I'm not sure. Are they going to learn karate? Okay, they signed up for karate classes so they might learn how to defend themselves, so they could learn how to defend themselves, or so that they would learn how to defend themselves. Okay, guys? So I think that's it for what we have today, the clause of result, the clause of concession, and the clause of purpose. All right? So that's it for this lesson of clauses. Great job, everyone. We're almost to the end of the series on English grammar. So I hope you learned a lot. You're doing very well if you've gotten to this point. If you've enjoyed this lesson or any one of these lessons that I've made, make sure to hit the like and subscribe button, please. That will help me out quite a bit. And thank you as always for watching, and I can't wait to see you next time. Bye.